Hi, folks. Today I just wanted to talk about 5 adventures that I've played in or run in the last 6 months that I thought were very good. And I want to tell you why I think they're good and what they bring to the table. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say why, particularly stuff that I've played or run. So I think in my mind, it's great to see things being unboxed. You get a view of the product. You can see how good the artwork is and the layout, and you can see whether the themes of it excite you or not. And I think equally, it's valid to hear people talk about what they think about something once they've read it through. But both of those things are no substitute for somebody, in my opinion, saying what they got out of actually playing the game. Because often what it looks like on paper is not what it runs like. And if you are going to use published adventures, and I know a lot of people prefer their own homebrew, but if you are going to use them, then I don't think you can beat a kind of actual play report of an adventure. Because that's where you will often find the kind of tricky bits, the bits that don't make sense, or where there's missing information. So all 5 of these that I'm going to talk about kind of pass that test of being runnable. They're all fantasy adventures. I could probably do a different list for sci-fi adventures. And just to give you a kind of bit of context, they're all about, I don't know, probably the top 10% of the stuff that I've played, maybe top 20% of stuff I've played in the last 6 months. I've played a lot more things than these. I've done a lot of homebrew as well, which we're not talking about. And I've read a lot of stuff. So, these are not like, oh, these are the absolute pinnacle. I've played them recently. I thought they were good. So there you go. So let's start. And these aren't in any particular order. The first one is The Final Enemy. And it is a D&D module. And you can get it either for 1st edition or for 5th edition. It's included in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh compilation. And I liked this one because it was a bit different. And what I will say now is I will try and avoid major spoilers for each of these, but to just give you a feel for why I think it's good, I have to explain a little bit about the theme of each one. So this one, you are tasked with infiltrating and then assaulting an enemy base. So we won't talk about who the enemy are or the context or any of that, but I felt that was a little bit different from an ordinary dungeon crawl. There are lots of bad guys, so there's absolutely no chance, even with 5th edition, that you can just steamroller your way through the entire thing. You've got to sneak about. You're there to observe. You're there to find out what's going on. You're there to sort of understand what the defenses are. And then you've got to get away, report back, and then come back and lead one of the assault groups. And I just felt it made for a quite a refreshing change of pace from the usual kind of dungeon, where you're going room to room and it can get a bit boring and dull. And been there, done that, got the t-shirt. This there was a sense of peril. There was a sense of a clock ticking. There was, a sense of overwhelming enemy superiority and needing smart play. And obviously, it being an old school module from the early days of the game, it wasn't balanced at all. So that's all good in my view. So yes, that was the first one, The Final Enemy. Check it out. So the next one is Tannoch, Rest of Kings, from Trilemma. And this one is available as a sort of systemless adventure, it's a short adventure. I played it using Swords and Wizardry, but you could play it with old school essentials, you could play it with fifth edition, you play it with whatever you like, really. And this is a one pager, which again, big tick from me. I like short things in terms of published material. And what stood out about it for me was it was very storybook, very mythic. Felt like being inside a particularly grim fairy tale. It got good, strong NPCs that stood out and were easy to run. And it was, despite all of saying all of that about it being storybook, it was a little mini sandbox, and there were a million different ways of dealing with the situation that was presented. I got very good feedback from the group that I ran it for it, who kind of appreciated. They'd kind of moved away from the kind of mundane reality of their fantasy setting into something a bit more in the realms of the other world, or they certainly stepped across into a particular problem situation which was outside their character's normal experience. And there was a lot of talking that could help. There was a lot of fighting that could help, so you could take different approaches. There was some backstory there, but it was really used in service of the actual game. So it wasn't wasted. It wasn't left on the page. It made sense. It happened in game to be relevant, which I think is the mark of good backstory. So that's Tannock, Rest of Kings. The next one is the Mosquito Witch, which is a scenario for Pathfinder 2nd Edition that's been put out by the Pathfinder Society. And this one was one that I played in rather than ran, and really enjoyed. It was kind of quite a slow burner to start with. We were trying to work out what was going on. There was lots of clues and misdirection. It was very atmospheric. We were exploring the little starting location that we arrived at, and piecing together clues. And then we trekked off into the wilderness and found various adventuring sites. So there was quite a bit of variety. You got a bit of exploration, you got some combat, you got a lot of mystery and intrigue. And I know that this may be controversial, but they took the decision, the writers of this, not to tie up all the loose ends. So we never really quite worked out exactly what was happening. And that really added to the atmosphere, the kind of spookiness of it. If you're after a kind of Halloween type scenario, I would definitely recommend the Mosquito Witch. It is very well written. And we actually felt sympathy for some of the things that happened to some of the people who, weren't necessarily the good guys, as a result of the kind of things they'd done and what they'd come into contact with. So yes, and the consequences of that one kind of still linger for our group, even though it was something we only played, like a couple of sessions. It's left a lasting positive memory for us. So yeah, very much recommend that one. Okay, so back again to more of an old school type thing. The next one is Blades Against Death for Dungeon Crawl Classics. This is quite an old scenario now, but it's a good one. It's been reprinted with a bit of extra material, which is the version that I got and that I ran. And I was stepping in as a substitute GM at fairly short notice for an established group of players. And this really made my life so easy. I found it very easy to run. I found it has all the hallmarks that you want from Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is to say, it's a bit gonzo, it's a bit over the top, it's very deadly. There are strong, well drawn characters, and I think it was probably one of my favourite role playing sessions of the year, all told across everything that I've done. And I play very regularly, probably twice a week at the moment, and I have done for a while. So that's a lot of role playing, and I just thought I was blessed with a really good group, albeit a small group of players for this. And yeah, I did like it, and I liked it has a kind of mythic, dreamlike quality to it. The title might give it away a bit: Blades Against Death. Yeah, very Grey Mouser, Lankmar, and all the better for it, really. So a great little scenario there. And then the final one I wanted to talk about was the Blooming Vale for Simbaroom. This is in the Wrath of the Warden adventure pack or book, and it's one of the sort of smaller side treks. And I think it's there to help you kind of gain experience before you kind of take on the main plot of Wrath of the Warden. But it was a great experience, again, for myself and my group. And the reasons why is because it just ticks every box that you want when you're running or playing in a Simbaroom adventure. It is the archetypal Simbaroom style short adventure scenario, because it has the trek through the forest of Davokar. It has an investigation of an ancient site that the forest has grown over. It has the find the loot bit, because obviously, in Simbaroom, it's very much about the characters may do good, but they get involved in trying to sort out problems and do good things, or almost as a secondary concern. Their main concern, if they're based out of Thistlehold, is to get loot from the ruins in the forest. So, and it had that very classic Simbaroom moment where you're just waiting for it all to go wrong. It's coming. It's all going to go wrong. The players know, the GM knows, so it kind of just builds the tension. So the tension builds up as you play this, and when it finally hits and the thing turns and it suddenly becomes a very life or death situation for the group. It is one of those ones where it is, as the situation unfolds, the players are going to go, "Oh no, what have we got ourselves into here?" And then they have to flee for their lives. So, it is the Simbaroom experience in a nutshell, really. It has good NPCs. It's got doom and gloom. It's got a logical backstory that makes sense, and it's very suspenseful. So, I strongly recommend that. So there you go. There are 5 adventures that I really enjoyed either running or playing in, and I would recommend to you. Let me know what you think of this. I haven't really done this kind of thing before, but I thought I might just kind of summarize things quickly there. And then if people are interested, I could do maybe a bit more of a deep dive into some of the actual individual adventures that I've mentioned in a bit more depth. But that's it. Bye for now. Have fun and speak again soon. Cheers very much. Bye.